Hello and welcome to Stand Up for Jehovah. I feel as rough as a badger's arse today, I really do. But I'm here to talk to you about elders' visits. I suppose in many ways, because my dad was an elder, my whole life was like an elder's visit. We had to be respectable and set an example, and so I always did. And being the very keen, swotty girl that I was, I never really merited an elder's visit of my own, fornication being way off the agenda. However, I did receive 2 elders' visits when I was in the Jehovah's Witnesses, and one more recently that I'm going to tell you about. The first elders' visit I received was when I was about 14, and I held a boy's hand. I'm pretty sure I've told you about this before. And quicker than you could say Jack Rabbit, his dad was round our house, who was an elder, saying, "What are your intentions towards my son?" And at 14 years old, what are your intentions? You just want to get kissed, don't you? "Oh, I just want your son to kiss me, really," is what I thought I should have said. But in truth, oh well, I promised to marry your son as soon as possible, which didn't happen because I kind of got bored of him quite quickly after the hand-holding incident. The second elder's visit I got was when I was a bit older, I think about 15 or 16. And we'd all been to a party. When I say party, I mean alcohol-free, modest get-together with parents sat in the kitchen. My friend didn't tell me whose party it was at because I really fancied this boy something rotten, and she was being kind to me, knowing that I never stood a chance with him anyway, being an elder's daughter. So she said, "Come to my house, we're going to a party." And she wouldn't tell me whose house it was until we got there. And when we got there, oh, it was so exciting. Stuart Lightower, in case anyone wants to know. If you're out there, Stuart, it would be helpful if you're really fat and ugly now so that I don't feel I've missed out on anything. Anyway, at Stuart Lightower's party, we were all sat in the living room with the olds sat in the kitchen listening to Radio 4 and reading the Watchtowers, and we were putting our music on in the living room, and somebody put Frankie Goes to Hollywood Relax on, and the olds were in the living room quicker than you could say, "Oh, Jack Rabbit," again, and I switched it off, and I stood in the middle of the living room and looked round and glared at us all and demanded to know who put Frankie Goes to Hollywood on. Who owned Frankie Goes to Hollywood? I don't know. I wouldn't dare buy it. I had to pass every album past my dad to see if it was okay. "Daddy, can I buy Duran Duran Rio? It's got a song on it called New Religion, but it's not about religion at all. It's about..." Well, I had no idea what it was about. But anyway, I was allowed Rio by Duran Duran, but I wasn't allowed Secret Messages by ELO. Anyway, somebody had got Frankie Goes to Hollywood Relax, and the next day it must have been reported back to the elders. And so what transpired was an elder's visit to every teenage person in the congregation. And my turn came, and they were kind of on a fishing trip, a bit like the Rozzers coming into your house with no excuse at all and just looking through all your cupboards and drawers for something, but they wouldn't tell you what. So the elders, like the Rozzers, came round to everybody's house and said, their opening question was, "What does relax mean?" What does relax mean? I don't know. Shall we get a thesaurus out? I'll look it up for you. I was 15. At first, I didn't even link it back to the Frankie Goes to Hollywood Relax incident. I was like, what does relax mean? What is this, a fucking English test? Oh, you mean, what does Frankie Goes to Hollywood mean when he sings, "Relax, don't do it when you want to come"? Well, being the innocent 15-year-old that I was, I had no idea. I didn't even know what coming was. I remember having a Saturday job, and my boss, who was a worldly woman, told me a joke, and I didn't get it for, I kid you not, about another 15 years. This was the joke, if you're interested in it. She said to me, "Hey Louise, what's..." Sorry. She said, "Hey Louise, what's white and glides round the dance floor?" And I goes, "I don't know." She goes, "Come dancing," because it was a programme in Come Dancing. I'm going, right, come dancing. She goes, "You know, Come Dancing." "Yeah, Come Dancing. It's a ballroom programme." "No, Come Dancing, Come Dancing." It's like, however many times you say it, I still don't know what you're talking about. So this was the backdrop of me, who didn't understand anything, and the elders asking me, what does relax mean? I got really indignant. I went, well, you're just on a fishing trip and I don't know anything. And so they went off. They didn't get anything from me. There's probably a reason why I never got invited out to discotheques like rooftop gardens in Wakefield when all the other witnesses went, because they knew, A, I was so stupid I'd tell my dad straight away, and B, when the elders came round I'd be like, oh, we go to rooftop gardens in Wakefield, except I never did. So that was basically my history of elders visits, except for a week ago when the elders came round to my house. Now one can only assume that this has been triggered by my very friendly letters to LEH at Bethel. So 2 elders came to the door. They actually came before, when I wasn't in, and my daughter answered the door and they said, are you Louise? My daughter's 16 years old. I left the Kingdom Hall like 17 years ago. I said, are you Louise? And she said, no, I'm her daughter. So they said, oh, would you tell your mum that the elders have called? Which she did, and I said, oh, they'll have come to disfellowship me. Genuinely thought they'd have come to disfellowship me. Anyway, last week, no, it was Tuesday, because I'd done some maths tutoring of a young girl, and she'd just gone home, and about 5 minutes later the door knocked, and I thought, it's Megan's left something, or a pencil case or a calculator or something. So I went and opened the door, and it was the 2 elders, and I thought, oh, hey up, here we go, I'm going to be disfellowshipped. Would you like to come to a disciplinary meeting? Oh, I'd love to. Yes, please, who could resist a disciplinary meeting? Anyway, that's not what they said. They were really nice, and I really felt sorry for them. And the other thing that transpired was, although Bethel had sent them, they said, we've been sent by Bethel because we've been told there's a sister that needs counselling, and you know, we're calling all these strangers, and wouldn't it be a shame if there was one of our own who needed something? Is there something we can get you? And I said, yes, you can get me the safeguarding policy. And they looked, they all sort of went, huh? And I went, I've phoned Bethel twice. I've phoned Bethel once and written to them twice, and every time I've asked for the child safeguarding policy and they haven't sent me it. And one of them goes, oh, well, if such a document exists. And I said, no, it does exist. It exists. They just won't give it to me. So he went on a bit more and he said, you know, are there any magazines? Would you like to come back to the meetings? So I said, well, no, not really. And then I said, look, if I came back to the meetings, you'd have to disfellowship me. I said, because the religion I left 16 years ago is totally different. And it's like, what do you mean? I said, well, for instance, I said, the faithful and discreet slave isn't the 144,000 anymore, is it? It's just the governing body. And he's like, oh, yes, very good. You're very up to date, aren't you? And I goes, yeah. And the generation that will by no means pass away is now an overlapping generation. I said, what I believed when I left, if I came back and believed that, you'd have to disfellowship me. It's all changed. And he's like, oh. And I said, and the thing is, I said, if when I was in, I'd said to you, I don't believe the 145,000 are the faithful and discreet slave, you'd have disfellowshipped me. And now, oh, guess what? They're not the faithful and discreet slave. At which the sort of the cannot compute look came on his face. He was like, oh. And he went, well, you're very up to date. And I said, well, yes, I am. I think it's really important to stay up to date. So then he goes, have you seen our new website, jw.org? We're very proud of it. And I goes, yes, I've seen it. And then he goes, you know, we're really proud of the fact that our religion improves people and changes them for the better. And I said, well, every religion would claim that. And he was genuinely shocked. He wasn't being sarcastic. He goes, would they? I goes, yeah, every religion would claim that they improve people and make their lives better. And he goes, but look at the Catholics. What about the conquistadors? And I said, know. I guess I honestly don't know how far back it is. Conquistadors. I goes, what about Candace Conti in 2012? And again, he had no idea. He was like, oh. I said, Candace Conti awarded $28 million for a child sex abuse case from the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. And I said, and my concern is that money is being paid from genuine brothers and sisters like yourself who are donating to the contribution box, and they're having to pay off cases. And so he goes, oh, well, that's only one case. And I went, there were 17 paid off out of court in 2010. Again, a fishing, and I couldn't remember the exact year, sometime back then. 17 cases paid out of court with gagging clauses on them, so people can't say anything about them. He goes, well, they wouldn't use dedicated funds for that. I was like, oh, jeez, where do you think the money's coming from, you muppet? So then he kind of reverted tack and he goes, well, is there anything we can get you? And I went, yes, you can get me the child safeguarding policy because they won't give it to me. And bless him, he was genuinely stunned. And so this is what led me to my next cunning plan. But I don't want to tell you about it just now. I'm going to wait until I've done it. Because if I don't have the balls to do it and I don't do it and I've said I'm going to do it, you'll lose all faith in me. So, thank you for listening to another episode of Stand Up for Jehovah.